Hey parents, welcome back. Glad to have you back with us for another topic on parenting, something to look at. Today, we just simply want to talk about these cell phones. Now, I do want to make sure that way we all kind of know what's happening. We're just going to talk about the actual cell phone today. And what it can do. We're not going to talk about social media. Social media, honestly, will probably be a two-part video. There's that many social medias, they're that prevalent. Want to give those their proper time. So I just want to talk about the phone itself, um, things we should do with it, some practical tips to give you kind of an idea. What our goal for today is that I want to give you practical tips to help you make your kid one who honors Christ with their phone so that you can be the parent that can parent your student to honor Christ with their phone. So let's talk a little bit about phones. I'm going to use the Apple iPhone today as kind of my example. The reason being is A, they're the most popular, and B, they're generally going to be the same for most all smartphones. Of course, if you have questions on a specific one, that's what I'm here for. Just let me know. But let's talk just a little bit about things when it comes to the smartphone. Of course, mine just let off with some noise. So first of all, when it comes to Apple, if you have an Apple phone, if you go to the settings, you'll see some things that are very important for you as a parent. First of which is the Apple ID. Apple ID, every Apple device, you have to have an ID. You make it yourself, goes with an email, it's free, comes with kind of doing the whole thing. Number one thing I could encourage you to do, make your kids Apple ID. Just make it for them. It helps them. It's awesome. Secondly, you know the password and you know how to log in, and you can log in online from basically anywhere. So that'd be the first thing I do for sure. Make them their ID for them. It's helpful, but it also gives you the ability to look at numerous different things. Now, in that, you can turn on family sharing if you'd like. Family sharing just allows you to be able to share different things with your kids. It's really not that fantastic overall, but it is helpful. Secondly, you can turn on Find My iPhone. You can share that. For some of you, you may want the Find My iPhone feature on your kid's device turned on so that you can see it. But then, even more importantly, if you're looking at the settings on a regular iPhone, one of the ones you should take care of as a parent is the screen time. Screen time is so important. You can also select it to where you can have screen time message you an email of your student's screen time. This is going to give you an idea of how much time your student is spending on their phone a day, and it will shock you. You will more than likely see something like 4 hours and 3 minutes a day on their phone. And you're going to go, what? They spend 4 hours a day on their phone or even more? Yeah. That tells you kind of what time we lose, because this is what takes all those little gaps. This is what takes up so much of our time is our phones. But screen time is also important because you can schedule on screen time. So you can schedule downtime. That means you can schedule times that the phone will not work for them. You can also set limits for apps. You can also put on there what apps are allowed and not allowed. But then last and not least, definitely not least, is content and privacy restrictions. You have the ability to do this. You go in, you can you can turn on their content and privacy restrictions. There's a whole list. I know you can't see it, but I felt like showing you. There's a whole list of things that you can restrict, including internet content. It will restrict it and not allow them to go on it. You then put a passcode on it. I would thoroughly encourage you. You just put whatever passcode you want there and just have it be that way. If they need you to take off the passcode to do something, then you can deal with that then. But screen time is one of your best tools to help protect your kids from what they see. Because what we want for Christ followers is we want them to be taking in the right knowledge and also putting out the right knowledge. So I want them to communicate with people through their phones in a way that honors God. And I want them to absorb information from their phones in a way that honors God. So screen time is one of the best tools you have as a parent to do that. But I do want to let you know some things also on here. First of all, is the Face ID and passcode. This on newer models. Older models are going to have Thumb ID or just straight passcode. Either way, let me just let you know. You have the ability. They have 5 different faces that can be put in on my phone. Mine, it has my face and it has Mary's face. There are 5 faces you can put in there. Your face should be one of those that works on your kid's phone. Well, I hate it when I hear parents who go, I can't get into their phone. As a point of reference, I am a firm believer that phones are not designed for privacy. I don't believe they're designed for privacy because I don't trust the people that make them. I don't think the people that make them think they're designed for privacy. I don't care what certain institutions say. They're not designed for privacy. And one of the greatest myths that can happen in parenting is that you say, hey, here's a phone and I'm going to parent you so that you have privacy. That's not needed. If you tell your kid, hey, this is your phone and I'm not gonna impede on it, I'm not gonna look at your stuff, you're just asking for trouble. So I would encourage you, make that known to your student. Hey, this is not a private thing. This is a phone. Here's why you have it. I can tell you, this may sound absolutely ridiculous to some of you. Your youth pastor, if I had a phone at 15, that was the earliest, but I think it was 16. I think it might have been 15 because that was when I started driving. But 16 is obviously when I got my license, and it's perfectly fine. Some of you are going to say, well, I want them to have it earlier. That's your prerogative. I'm not here to tell you when to give your kids a phone. What I'm here to say, though, is just remember, the more time they have it, the more ability they have to do things, the more ability they have to find things. Now, with that being said, a couple things that I want you to know that really do exist on your kid's phone is, shameless plug, the NRRBC app. That should exist on your kid's phone. But additionally, there are things called Google Chrome or Safari. These are both internet browsers. On these internet browsers, I just want you to know that Safari's is called private, and Google Chrome's is called, I think, incognito. There are browsers that allow your kids to then go into a private browser where it does not come up on their search history. You can block those, both of them in the settings or in the app itself. You can block whether or not incognito can be set up. That means that your kids have to then have a history put on their phone. I would encourage you to do so. Granted, I would also encourage you, there are numerous different apps out there, things like Covenant Eyes. There are apps that allow your kids that's their only internet service is through that app. And then it will alert you whenever they see anything questioning. Covenant Eyes is a great one because it does. It alerts you. You can put yourself as the contact. And so your kid knows, hey, mom and dad already saw what I looked at today. So I would encourage you, do things like this. Be aware. One of the things that I like to say with parents in many different things, if you are just now thinking about it and your kid has a phone, you're already behind. And so we want you to be able to catch up. I want you to be able to know and be proactive. But then a few other things with phones that I think are really important. Number one, phones don't interrupt family. I see it all too often that parents will be at the dinner table, whether that be at a restaurant or in their house, and kids are texting and they're doing all these other things, and we're not having valuable family time. You've got to win back your dinner table. You've got to win back that ability. And that just starts with saying, hey, I'm going to set an example and a rule at the same time. I'm going to set the example. I'm going to turn off my phone. But I'm also going to set the rule and say, hey, we're not going to have phones at the dinner table. We're going to talk. We're going to interact with one another. We're going to have conversation as a family. I encourage you as well in this. Please don't just turn off the phones. Turn off every screen. All too often I see this in a household. I'll go to their dinner table, and if we're sitting down for dinner, I'll even just notice that sometimes there'll be a parent, primarily the dad, his seat will be at the edge of the dinner table in such a way that the TV can be on and he can still see it while they're eating dinner. Please don't be that parent. Please don't be that parent. Instead, be the parent who says, we're turning the TV off, we're turning the computer off, Alexa's gonna stop playing music, and instead we are going to spend this time as a family together. And the best way you can do that is say, hey, I'm gonna lead. And you say, hey, everybody, leave your phones here and leave them in a different room. Don't leave them in the kitchen right next to it. Leave them in the living room or leave them in your front room. Just say, hey, you can take time away from this. It will literally change the way you eat dinner, and it'll change the way you communicate with your kids because they'll already know, hey, when we go to the dinner table, we have to talk. We have to talk, and we have to talk about life, and we're going to listen to one another. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would encourage you to do, something we already do with your kids at camp, they're used to it at camp, and that is that phones don't charge next to your kids at night. The best thing I can tell you, if your kid says, or you say, well, my kid uses their phone as an alarm clock, buy them an alarm clock. Actually, I'll even go one step further. If you're really having an issue with this, call me and I will buy your kid an alarm clock. I don't mind. I'll buy them the loudest one I can find. Actually, I have some pretty fantastic loud ones if you want them. But buy your kid an alarm clock. Don't let that phone go into their room in secrecy, because unfortunately what happens is when we say, hey, yeah, just charge it next to your bed at night, whatever. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is we look at it at night, we stay up, and the best case scenario is we just stay up way too late. Watching things, watching videos, whatever. Not anything bad, just we're staying up late. That's one of the issues that comes up. But the other issue that comes up is sometimes when we stay up late and we're watching videos, we watch the wrong things. So the best way to deal with that is just say, hey, we're going to not do that. Instead, you can either pick one spot in the house that you have as a local charging spot. I would encourage that. If it's not going to be in your bedroom or whatever, be somewhere very near your bedroom, somewhere you can hear, just in case. Or just say, hey, we're charging them all in mom and dad's bedroom. It's right over here. But yet again, I would encourage you, lead in that. Tell them, hey, I'm putting my phone on the charger right now too. The best thing we can have is just let them be for a minute. Yet again, you can schedule downtime. You can schedule even sleep time on phones. That allows them to not ring during those times and things like that. So you can put them in your room and not have to worry about it. But that would be my number one encouragement, or number two encouragement, I should say, is don't have that be something that's used at night. Have that be something that instead you say, hey, we're going to charge it at different times. Your kid can live without their phone, and you can parent in a way that they won't even need it. They'll say, hey, I only use it so I can contact you and let you know when I'm coming back home. So those are some practical tips. A couple other things to let you know. When it comes to buying phones, most of them do have safety plans. Secondly, there are such things as hard cases. I would get one if you know your kid is particularly accident prone. I would also just warn you not to use the same Apple ID for multiple phones. I don't even know if you can do that, but if you can, if you have saved in your Apple ID your keychain, which is your passwords, that will sometimes, and your wallet, that will sometimes bring over your card information if you don't need your kid buying everything. And then last but not least on that, with text messages, you can make it to where it saves every text message. You can also ask your provider, your phone provider, to send you your kids' text messages. And in text messages, there are many apps that do this as well. But in text messages, you also have the ability, if you click on the person and click info, you can send your current location indefinitely and have them send it back. So you can always know where your kid is. There are also different ones. There are family apps that work like that too. They all do roughly the same thing. They just let you know where they are. That's something you're interested in. Happy to walk through with you with that. I'm going to put all these things in a little document with the same title as this video so you can look at it and have it. But parents, let me just encourage you. You have the ability to parent your kids' phones in a way that honors King Jesus. So I just encourage you, make every stride to do so. Be that example and be that disciple maker. And we'll see you next time.